This video, we are talking pros and cons of living in Columbus with a 2023 edition. It's been about 3 years since I did one of these videos about pros and cons here. I think things have changed somewhat, some good, some maybe not so good, so stay tuned. Hey guys, Andy Howell here. If you've been watching this channel for a while, you know that I love making these videos, trying to bring some value to you if you're considering moving to Columbus, or if you just maybe live here in Columbus and want to know more about Columbus. So please reach down, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of our episodes. So let's start off with the pros. I'm an optimistic person, so pros first. The first thing that comes to my mind is transportation. With an asterisk though, you are going to need a car here likely to take advantage of the ease of transportation here. It is extremely simple to get anywhere around the city. And if you've lived here in Columbus for a while, this might be a blind spot for you because believe me, I get it. There is a lot of construction. There are some times where rush hour it's trafficy, but on average, it is so much simpler to get around the city compared to other places. You know, for instance, I had a client that moved here from Boston, and in my process of following back up with them, hey, what are you enjoying most about Columbus? The ease of transportation is the first thing that he told me, and I was kind of thinking, well, why is that? And he said, well, Andy, if I want to go downtown to see a Blue Jackets game or concert, I can get downtown in like 10 or 15 minutes. Compared to, Boston, it might take 2 hours one way to get downtown from where they were, or 2 hours to get to the airport, and that's just not the case here. Columbus, on average, for a one-way commute, has about a 21-minute one-way commute, 42 minutes round trip. Now, I get it. Any sort of commute is going to, suck your soul if you sit in it for a long time, but Columbus, as the 14th largest city, there are 76 other cities who have longer commute times on average than Columbus. That is certainly a pro for us here. So the next pro is all the economic activity we have going on here. If you guys watch my video on Intel, you know that people are calling this the Silicon Heartland here. Now, some of you guys are going to laugh about that right now because it's not quite evident why that is, but I think in 10 to 12 years, 20 years, everybody's going to be calling this the Silicon Heartland. I mean, we've got Intel coming here. There's a ton of economic activity with electric vehicles. Honda's investing $5 billion in retooling all their existing plants to be able to build electric vehicles, and then they're actually building another plant over in Fairfield County. So there is a lot happening here, and to be totally transparent, when I came to move back here about 10 years ago from Colorado, I thought I was making a huge mistake. I had mad FOMO. And it's because, as an avid snowboarder, mountain biker, and just enjoyer of outdoors and sunshine and all these things, how could I move back to Ohio, where I am from, into what people call a flyover state? But what I found when I came back here is that there is a lot of opportunity, and there's so much opportunity and so many different jobs here that I felt like there was a lot less competition compared to a place like Denver. So in 2022, Ohio set their own record for promised investments in the state. Of course, that was led by Intel investing $20 billion and Honda investing $5 billion. But to me, that is just the tip of the iceberg and the start of our snowball here. We've got a lot of momentum, and this is just only going to continue. So much so that I think the golden years really in Central Ohio are going to be the next 1 to 2 generations. The next pro is logistics. So pretty much my entire life, I've heard about all these great benefits of globalization. You got cheaper products, and it was just easy to get anything you ever wanted. Well, I think after the pandemic, people realized, try to go buy a car, try to get anything. There were huge supply chain issues. So I think over these next couple generations, we are going to be going back to more of localization. So things are like made right here in Ohio, made right here in the US. And I think Columbus especially stands to benefit from that. Within an 8-hour drive of Columbus, about 151 million people can be reached. So, if you're looking at making something or building a warehouse, what better place than a place like Columbus Secondly, we've got Rickenbacker Airport. That is one of the world's only cargo-specific airports, and the entire city of Columbus is actually in a foreign free trade zone. So if you're looking at doing business here, if you're looking at doing imports, I say that right, as I said localized, right? But if you're looking at doing imports, this is a pretty friction-free area to do business. The next pro is we have 4 seasons here. You know, sometimes even 4 seasons just in a day. Springs are typically gonna be, you know, kind of cool and drizzly, quite variable. Summers are gonna be hot, humid, kind of sticky. Autumns are the best of all worlds. You know, you got warm days, crisp nights, and winters generally are dull and gray. Of course, today it's, you know, in the winter and a Chamber of Commerce type of day, but we don't get as much sunshine as some of the other places like Colorado, but the sunshine we do get, everybody's really appreciative of it. All the rain we get just makes everything so green. And you know, if you want to grow a garden or something like that, it's really easy to do. The next pro is lack of growth restrictions. You guys have heard me say it before, if you travel outside the major metro area here, you're going to see pretty much farmland and forests as far as you can see, primarily farmland. And what that means is we don't have any natural barriers to restrict growth. You know, when I was out in Boulder, Colorado, beautiful area, you know, they had mountains that restricted their growth, but they also had a green space, basically created this artificial ocean all the way around Boulder. I loved seeing that open space. However, the average home price is like 700 grand out there. Like, who can afford that? It's so expensive. Here in Columbus, we don't have those restrictions. Next up, gas and utilities. You know, we do have relatively cheap gas here. We rank about 20th of all the states, so kind of middle of the pack. Utilities on average are gonna be about 7% less, so that is definitely a plus. The other plus is we've got a plethora of healthcare options right here in Columbus. So many options, in fact, that compared to the US average, we're about 25% cheaper. So if you have some health complications or you just, you know, you're having kids, or you know, you need anything, or if you get injured, just know that, you know, you're not going to be paying for the health expenses likely for the rest of your life. Next up is employment options. This is a huge advantage here. No matter what industry you're in, you know, finance, healthcare, fashion, utility providers, energy providers, there's a job here for you very likely. We have about 16 Fortune 1000 companies headquartered right here. We've got, you know, Bread Financial, we've got Nationwide Insurance, we've got American Electric Power, we've got DSW, we've got Big Lots, Abercrombie and Fitch. So that is a pretty wide breadth of options that you're gonna have. Next up, food and beer. Some people have been wanting to change the name from Columbus to Flavor Town, which please don't change it to Flavor Town. That's a terrible name. But the reason they call it Flavor Town is because a lot of companies come here to test their food. It's considered a test market for restaurants. And the reason for that is here in Columbus, we have the statistically average US population. So what better place to, you know, try out your new idea that you're maybe planning to take all over the country than a place like Columbus. Secondly, you know, the beer and alcohol scene. We've got over 50 breweries right here in Columbus, and that's anything from, you know, large national distribution type breweries like Brewdog, down to like more like nano neighborhood type breweries like, you know, Seventh Son or Nocterra. We've also got several micro distilleries here and wineries. If you guys haven't heard of it, be sure to check out the Columbus Ale Trail. I did a video on that. You can also, I dropped a link down below. You can also go to Experience Columbus to find out more about both those things. So if you're a foodie, if you're interested in you know, beverages, Columbus is the place for you. Next up, sports. We have a lot of options with regards to sports here. And it all starts with our beloved Ohio State Buckeyes. If you're gonna come here on a Saturday, no people are gonna be like totally checked out in the fall. Don't expect to get a lot of things done. It might be a little annoying if you're not a Buckeye fan, that is, but if, you know, football's not really your thing, we also have the NHL Columbus Blue Jackets. We've also got the Columbus Crew, Major League Soccer team. Definitely go and check out their new stadium. They've also opened a new party deck area. We've also got the minor league Columbus Clippers. So if sports are your thing, I don't know what other city in the country would have maybe as many options and ease of getting to than Columbus. The next up, people are really nice here. It's the Midwest. The chances are if you're walking by somebody on the street, they're gonna smile, they're gonna say hello. Your neighbor is gonna come knocking on your door, asking you for a cup of sugar or for one egg so they can finish their baking project. I know we do that all the time. Your neighbor is probably also gonna help you shovel your sidewalk should we get any of the 22 inches of snow on average that we get here. So if you're somebody that likes to keep to yourself and doesn't really like nice people, maybe Columbus isn't for you. So enough with all the optimism, right? Let's talk about maybe some of the things that aren't as great about Columbus. And the first thing on my list is crime. I also did a video on crime. You can see that in more detail here, but Columbus, we do have some crime. We've got a lot of property crime here. However, that is centralized in some specific areas, but in general, if you're not just a complete douche, you're gonna be okay here in Columbus. Next con, we don't really have like a landscape feature here. We don't have mountains, we don't have an ocean. So if you're looking to go, climb some iconic mountain, you're not gonna find that here. Like there's a reason people call Ohio a flyover state, right? The geography is not as interesting as a place like Colorado or a place that's on the ocean. However, I would argue, Lake Erie can seem like an ocean. If you haven't been up there, I mean, if you just look at it, it's one of the Great Lakes, it's huge. It's gonna seem like an ocean, but we don't have that iconic feature. What we do have is a lot of state forests. I mean, Zaleski State Forest down south is about 30,000 acres. So if you do wanna go get lost in the wilderness, there is that. It's just not gonna be as majestic of a mountains as maybe you would find out west or maybe some other places in Appalachia. Next con is there aren't a ton of direct flights out of Port Columbus here. There are about 150 daily flights, but if you're looking to jet set around the world, know that you're gonna be making a connection, so plan for that. Also, the airport is about 50 years old. There are plans to, build a new terminal, but I do think it's gonna get worse before it gets better. The good thing about the airport though is it's pretty easy to get in and out of, and it's generally not that busy. Next con is high property taxes. Ohio is in the top 10 of all the states in the union with high property taxes. And so that is gonna come to a shock to a lot of people. You come here, you're looking at, man, we've got some less expensive housing here, but definitely property taxes are gonna claw back some of that. The next con is transportation. I mentioned this as a pro with an asterisk beside it, and I also mention it as a con because you are going to absolutely need a car here in Columbus. Our public transportation system is existent, but it's not great. It's not super efficient. And if you want to get to some parts of town, it may not be possible at all. So that's something to look forward to. Hopefully figure that out in the next generation, because I think it's going to really make a difference here in Columbus. The next con is that sprawl. We here in Columbus, because of the lack of restrictions, geographic restrictions, tend to get this suburban sprawl thing going. I mean, you can be out in some of these suburbs and just be driving for miles and miles past these houses that are, may look the same, and there's not really a city center or something to tie it all together. So it can just seem like suburbs for as far as you can see, which, some people like that. I'm not a huge fan, and so that's certainly a con for me. So that's what I got for my pros and cons in 2023. If you've lived here for a while, or especially if you've just moved here, I'd love to hear from you what some of your top pros and cons are. Please drop a comment below, and if you like this video, give me a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button. That really helps the YouTube algorithm know that we're providing some value. So thanks for watching so much, you guys. Have a great day.